talk about different things that are concerning our community or that are important to us, and getting to do it together with our friends and our neighbors. And so tonight we're celebrating the Black History Month, and we're talking about 3 scenarios that affect our community today and in the future. So thanks for being here, and thank you all for coming out to have this discussion with us. So I just want to do a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. First, this is just going to be really casual, so feel free to get up, use the restroom at any time. There's one non-gender bathroom over here. It's over to the left, so just make sure you knock before you go in. And then also feel free to help yourself to the great food that Crop and Kettle has provided for us. It's in the back. There's lots of it, so help yourself throughout the evening. And also, I wanted to let you know that if you were not able to be here tonight, this is being live streamed on our Facebook account. And then also, it'll be housed on Trail's website and also Neighborhood North's website later on. And so, yeah, there's lots of choices that we make each day. And sometimes we think about them, sometimes we don't. But they do impact our future. And so Colby's going to share with you how we came up with this idea to have this particular panel discussion tonight. Thanks, Colby.
Thank you so much, Christine. So Christine and I have been working for years. We just realized we were like babies when we started working with each other. So we often come together and think of crazy, amazing ideas to bring to the community. And she approached me and wanted to do something for Black History Month. And being on the board, I was like so excited to be able to do something and contribute to Neighborhood North because I really just adore everything that's going on here. And just so happened that week prior to that, her asking me, I was able to go to the African American Smithsonian Museum in DC, which is amazing. Everyone, please go. Please, please. You got to go twice, 2 days in a row, because you won't be able to finish it in one. But it was absolutely amazing. There were a lot of things that really touched my heart. Number one was that our history has been saved, and it's documented, and it's real, and they did it with honor. And that was the first thing that touched me. In these times, where sometimes we feel like we're kind of losing our identity or who we are, it was so refreshing to be able to go to that museum and see it be done so well and so intentful and with so much purpose, because our history is vital to the American history. And they finally gave us our respect. And so that was the first thing I noticed. But then the second thing I came across was an exhibit with the bus boycotts and the nonviolence sit-in movement, right, where they would go into a diner that was for whites only, and people of color and their allies will sit at the diner table as they're getting harassed, and they would silently sit there and protest. And so they had this display out, and on the display were different scenarios and different options. And based off of your option, it would tell you what party or what side you actually would have been on if you were if you were there during those times, which was so interesting because it taught me a lot about myself, actually. It was also interesting to really put in perspective how everyday situations, everyday decisions really impact our history, our community, our well-being as a whole. And so when Christine approached me, I was like, let's do a play on that. There's a lot of things going on in Beaver County, a lot of great, exciting things, and a lot of things we're kind of like a little hesitant about. And so now's the time to really empower each other and to really bring out in the spotlight the everyday scenarios, the everyday decisions that we make, and really how impactful they are. Because back then, they were just trying to be able to eat at the same diner as their friends. They didn't know that they knew, but I'm sure a lot of them did not realize really how much impact they were going to have. They didn't realize that their movement was going to be in a Smithsonian museum one day. And it's just as important, it's just as impactful, the things that we are faced today, the little decisions that we're making. You know, we have people coming in and wanting to buy up houses. We have people coming in and wanting to start businesses. But how do we want our community to look? What do we want our community to honor? How do we, as people of color, want to be honored in the buildings of our community? And everyday decisions impact that. And so today we're just going to bring to the panel, have an amazing panel. I'm so excited about this panel. Today we're going to bring some scenarios to the panel, and we're just going to discuss what you would do if you were in that situation. And as we're talking about this with our panel, I just ask that every one of you guys in the audience and on Facebook and recording, if you could think about what you would do in these scenarios as well, being either an ally, being someone who is in the scenario making the mistake, or being a person of color and the experiences that people of color actually have that are sometimes unknown and unseen by our allies. So I thank you all for coming. It's a great honor to be able to do this. I'm so excited. And I want to also introduce my co-host, Diamond. Diamond.
Hi.
Diamond is an intern at Trails, but more than that, she was the president of the Black Student Union at Geneva for how many years? For 2 years. It's a big deal. They just really got that organization. And she's done a wonderful job advocating and being a voice and being a present in that community, and I really applaud you for that. That was good work, hard work. And she actually helped me create these scenarios. So I wanted to honor her in this creation and give her an opportunity to actually present them as well. So she will be co-hosting with me as we get this started. So I'm going to sit down, so I'm not the center, they are. I am going to ask us to start out by introducing ourselves. If you could introduce yourself by giving us your name, your current occupation in whatever realm that is, and if you could also just give one thing, one scenario, one situation, one issue that kind of keeps you up at night. And I'm just asking for 2 minutes of this each. And we'll start with Jared.
One situation's like.
There's so many, huh?
Yeah, no, there is. I'm about to say. So I'm Jared. I am the Family Reunification Coordinator Project Lead at Trails, and I'm also part of the Board of Directors here at Neighborhood North. And I guess one scenario, at least I always keep in my head, is whenever I'm driving. Because you never know what can happen whenever they pull you over. So I would say that's like the one thing I think about.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carolyn. Currently, my occupation is a senior admissions officer at South College, as well as a part-time makeup artist. One scenario that I think keeps me up at night, I really want to say the occupation that I'm in, I have a lot of ups and downs because I am pretty young, and I do manage those who are older than me. So I think being in the light of having some authority, but also being looked down on based on age or my skin, in a sense, where I'm unable to do certain tasks, certain assignments, for example. I had a couple situations where they looked down on me, but I think it keeps me up at night because I want to show them that I'm the complete opposite. I'm sorry, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I do that with everything that I do. So I think that's my scenario.
Thank you.
Again, my name is Diamond. I'm a student at Geneva College, and I'm also an intern at Trails Ministries Dove program. And a scenario or something that would keep me up,
Yeah.
I think it would be my time finishing at Geneva and passing on the torch to the next president and officers, and just making sure that, our legacy remains. We're still there. We're able to make, impactful events. We're able to educate and just keep the name going. And I'm just hoping that, the school supports us in any way they can.
As a mother of teenagers, I think what keeps me up at night is my kids enjoying themselves and having fun, but it not necessarily being perceived as such. And especially my son. He's always been bigger than his age, and so he always looks older, and sometimes he's treated older. And just want my kids to be able to be kids.
Jalil Carl, business owner, investor here in the city, and things that keep me up at night, or one thing I would say probably lack of community policing. I feel like, being young and, hanging around like outside, downtown or wherever, and it was like, especially when they hired like all the rookies back in 2009. And, there'd be a big group of us, and, it'd be like more like disperse, get out of here, or, they ride by and just stare. It's like, get out and know the people, and I just want, like the police officers and, the black community just to, come together much more.
Hello, Andrina Williams, Evangelist Andrina Williams, Executive Director of Uncommon Grounds Cafe in Aliquippa. Being an evangelist, I'll say the thing that keeps me up at night is the reality that Sunday morning is still the most segregated time of the week. We do have some churches, shout out to Mark DeJay back there for Soma being represented here. Some churches that are diverse, but those of us who are in Christ understand that we are all created in his image and that there is no distinction. He created us with different colors intentionally. And when we get to heaven, there are no black sections, white sections, Chinese sections, anything like that. And the fact that within the body of Christ, there's still so much division and almost a lack and a tendency to be able to see beyond color and not recognizing that it's our responsibility to advocate. Yeah, I'll say that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sean Reed, and I'm with Fair Shake. I'm the Community Democracy Coordinator. See, what keeps me up a lot at night? A lot of things, but more specifically, Black women dying giving birth. So.
Very good. Thank you guys so much. And as you guys can see, there are just so many vast issues and areas of concern within our community. And we all said something different, but they were all so very valid. And so with that being said, I want to open us up to the scenarios. I'm going to just say just a couple, not really rules, but just guidelines for us to go by, just so that we're all expecting the same thing. These scenarios are controversial, and we want them to be. And we want your answers to be controversial as well. Please don't hold back because your community needs your voice. We just ask that we are all kind, we are all open, that we are all honest, and then that you guys are just you. And then we won't have any time to have any audience interaction, but we do offer that if you guys have something on your heart or on your mind, please, after the panel is over, and if you have something that you want to talk about, things that you want to ask, this is absolutely a space to do that, and we'll give you that space after we're done, okay? These scenarios are brand new to them. They just read them for the first time. So as they are being presented to them, they will be presented to you all. These are scenarios that we are all thinking through. Some of us have actually experienced, but some of us might not have. And so nobody's answer is wrong. Nobody's an expert up here, I think, except for Sean. Sean. No, I thought you were. Okay. She's the expert. But your experiences, who you are, and how you have lived your lives, all make you experts in this area. And so we just ask that you're just you in this space. It's so important. And thank you guys again for being willing to do this. So we're going to open it with the first scenario. Diamond, take it away.
All right, so this scenario is the racial comment encounter. So, you're at a college event with a couple of friends. The usual Friday night routine. It's loud, people are laughing, and the music's playing. A non-African male there, someone you don't know well, but seen around before, strikes up a conversation. At first, it's nothing special, just small talk. But then, in a half-joking, half-serious tone, he says something that hits you the wrong way. He says, "You know, you're a good N-word." Hard emphasis on the ER. "You're not like the other ones." He says with a laugh, as if he's giving you a compliment. You can feel your non-African American's friends stiffen beside you, but you can't let this slide. He leans in, not really realizing how wrong he was in what he just said. And he says, "I mean, you're cool. You're not like those other guys, you know? You're more chill."
What would you do?
Why y'all so loud when I grab the mic? I don't get that out there. I just started laughing as soon as I grab it. This really hits home because this happened to me before. Me and Diamond actually were both served as officers for the BSU. She was the president, I was vice president, and we legit just had our last Black Voices, and and I remember we cried because we just remember the growth and how much we did over the years and how many lives, young African American lives on the campus that we impacted. But we sure went through a lot, and definitely one of them was definitely the concept of that happened to me before. I try to be cool with everyone on campus, right? But I just remember students would do the same thing. Would be like, "Oh yeah, you're just one of the cool ones. You're not like the rest of them," right? And at least for me in that scenario, what I did was I just had to disassociate myself, because it was either I disassociate myself or I get kicked off campus for fighting. And I knew that because we go to a PWI, or we went to a PWI, and it was hard already to reach out for help because we're Black. But I just knew that I had to really for starters, I had to pray a lot. But secondly, I had to really control my anger in those type of moments, because that happened to me multiple times. Because they just think of me as "Oh yeah, he's Jared, he's cool." By the end of the day, I'm still Black. And I let them know too, I am the vice president of the you just can't be saying that to me wherever go away, right? And I would talk to them about it, but I wasn't gonna have no time trying to explain myself, because we always have to explain ourselves, and I'm tired of it. So I had to learn, okay, if they don't get it, I'm just gonna have to move on without them, and that's their problem to deal with, not mine.
You right. No, yeah. Can I go? Is that okay? Okay. So, I'm the type of person that if you're saying something to me, I have to literally analyze every single thing that you're saying, good, bad, ugly. I want to break it down into small pieces and figure out the whole picture. So if someone came up to me in that demeanor, one, it was a choice. First and foremost, you came up to me in my bubble, me and my girls are having fun on a Friday night, and you want to come up to me on some, "Oh, you're one of the cool ones," or you said the hard ER. Insane. First and foremost, if I'm out on a Friday night, I'm gonna have fun, right? We're having fun. So my initial reaction, I'm gonna say something that it probably isn't going to be likely in front of my parents here, but my second reaction is I really want to take a step back and figure out, why did you think that this was a time for you to come up to me and tell me that? Why did you think that was a choice? Why are you so comfortable coming up to me saying that to me? You know what I mean? Is it because I do present a presence that is open? I'm very open. Anybody can come up to me. You can talk to me. I will be your friend. I'm very loving. But I do and will always hold and have respect for myself as well as who's around me. So I think you just have to realize, like, okay, and I'm also going to play devil's advocate because what did your parents teach you? What did you come up with? Where did you come from? Because you don't know how I could have reacted to that. It could have been really ugly or it could have been really professional and sweet. It really just depends on how you got me and what I was doing. And on that Friday night, I can't tell you. But again, I think you just have to take a step back and realize, like, what you're saying to me is not a compliment. What you're saying to me is disrespectful. What you're saying to me is rude. And I really want you to take this situation, because we could have really did you wrong. We could have just beat you up for real. You know, let's keep it real. Or we could have cussed you out respectfully and then prayed after and during. But at the end of the day, you're not going to talk to anybody crazy, and it's a learning lesson. I like to try to figure out, how can I teach this person what not to do if this happens again? And I hope after that interaction it won't happen again.
Okay, so I think I'm probably the oldest on this panel. Don't ask how old, just know I'm older. So a little bit about me, I am from Aliquippa, but we moved to South Fayette Township when I was in the first grade. So anyone who knows the extreme difference of Aliquippa and South Fayette Township, it's like completely different. When I graduated from high school, there were 9 Black students that graduated with me in 1999. So yeah, you got that. I actually had this happen to me a lot growing up, coming from extremely militant parents. Mr. Curtis, you knew my dad was all day, right? The late, great Lorenzo Williams was a civil rights activist, literally. So I grew up with a lot of pride. Also grew up with a strong faith background, so I knew showing love and respect, but I also experienced an extreme amount of prejudice and discrimination from a very age, like being in the second grade and a teacher treating me differently and knowing that it was because I was Black. It's extremely hard, and it actually forms your perception of white people. So as I got into junior high, it was acceptable. I was the cool Black girl. You know, I was a cheerleader. I was the acceptable Black girl for the white boys to date, even though I wasn't giving them any title play because I wasn't allowed to. But back then, when those things happened, I'll be real with you, I did fight. I did fight because I was extremely offended that these kids that I had grown up with, that we had slept over each other's houses, we had played on sports teams together, we had worked on projects together, all this, and now you realize I'm Black and you have the audacity to say something to me about my color, but make it a joke. I remember it was homecoming my junior year, and that Thursday night we had something called the Spirit Train. And you drove through the neighborhood, the football players, the cheerleaders, like all this fall sports you drove through and blew the horn. And they flew the South Fayette flag, which was a green paw because we were the Lions. And so we're all getting set up in the cars, and someone put a Confederate flag in the back of their truck. And they thought that was okay. They did not fly that Confederate flag in the back of that truck, let me tell you. And yes, I probably said some things that my family over here wouldn't want me to have said, but when you are the only one fighting, those friends that loved you so much, you were the cool Black girl, but they did not advocate for you or stand with you. That's very, very hard. So today, as a 40-something-year-old woman, I would not respond the same way because I am a saved, single Christian woman, but it would be a conversation like, what do you mean? Because at the end of the day, if you had the audacity to say something like that, I had the audacity to say, what are you talking about? You want to answer? Okay.
Let me see. See, this situation right here is like, why, like, I feel like I'm observant and I try to like stay out of like read a room. And it's like, as African Americans, I feel like we shouldn't have to live like an uncomfortable life. Like, I feel like we shouldn't be within a room with, amongst a majority white people and, in the back of our minds, like, what are they saying? What are they thinking? That's how I move. So I like to be in like diverse, environments. Um, but just like Jared said, in that situation, I feel like silence would probably be the best because as a man, you know, if we react, we probably gonna be accused of being the instigator in that situation.
I had to think about that because how I want to react at this age and who I am as a mother, I have way too much to lose, and I have to show my children that I don't know how we handle certain things, but I also, in the same sense, have to stand up and show them that like that can't be tolerated. So I want to know, like, what do you mean by that? Because that's racist. The word is racist. So, like, I really want to get in their face, 4-9 and all. What do you mean by that? Because it's not a compliment. We know it's not a compliment. So, what do you mean by that? But I also wouldn't want to be around that type of person anymore. And also, who's around when that's happening? Because I don't want to be the only one to speak up. Surely someone else must speak up for me, right?
Thank you guys for that. I took away a couple key points that you guys were saying, which was regulate yourselves, walk away if it's too much, educate. It's important to educate. And then also like asking more questions, digging in more to the reason why this was acceptable. So thank you guys for that. I appreciate your honesty, your experiences. They're valid. So we're going to move to the next one. This next one deals a little bit more within the community. In a historically black neighborhood along the Ohio River, residents are being displaced due to a new riverfront development. While some argue that the project will bring economic growth and jobs, others worry about losing their homes, community history, and affordable housing. How would you advocate for your community? How would you play a part in the development of your neighborhood?
Let's just say Aliquippa, because we all know that that is happening there. So I can go back to 2021, and Commissioner Manning, you may be able to help with a little bit of this. In 2021, there were some monies that were coming down for some redevelopment around, they were trying to like do something with the highway so there was better access to. Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yes. Several $1 million. Governor Wolf came, and people were asking questions because they had a press conference set up. And that was one of the questions that was asked, how will this affect the community? A lot of people don't think about that. They see it as new development, these new things coming, and that's amazing. But to people who are currently living in subpar, deplorable conditions where they don't have money, they don't have access to jobs, they don't have access to transportation, they don't have access to the services that they need, something new means nothing to them. So I just happened to get caught by one of the news journalists and put on the news for answering the question. And they said, well, what do you do? And I say, yeah, new development is great, and community development is great, but you can't develop the community without developing the people, because the people make up the community. That's my dad. Y'all didn't get to meet him, people. He was amazing. So like a lot of what's going on now in Aliquippa right now, several of the public housing are extremely poor conditions. We have one housing development that the elevator does not work on a consistent basis, and you have elderly and disabled people living on the top floors that they can't come down. You have Valley Terrace, which is a housing project that flooded, okay? No power, no heat. And these people live there day after day after day. And we go and try to advocate for them and do surveys and things of that nature, but they are afraid to say something. And so then who advocates for them when they're afraid to even advocate for themselves? So yeah, I feel very super, super close to this. So, I mean, you know, the organizations that I am a part of, that I try to work alongside, it's just very important for those who are involved to understand the people and where the people are coming from, hear those stories, and not be so concerned with the money and the development and what it's going to look like when it's over with, because we forget that when you knock something down, you displace something else.
That was beautiful, cousin or friend. Um, both of them, I know. I really, the reason why I want to piggyback on that, because yes, it happens, you know, Aliquippa, but it's also happening here too. Like we do have different areas in Beaver Falls, really. You know, the county, we have some Darlington, Chippewa, a little fancy or whatever, but Beaver Falls, we definitely have some places that I feel like are dealing with the same situations, and we build things like our community are building it for ourselves, not just the city. Although the city has definitely have made some beautiful changes, and I don't think that we're going to the point where we are dis dis we're displacing the people, because I do think and know that Beaver Falls thinks about the people. But the reason why I wanted to piggyback on that is because I feel like some organizations that are in higher cities, like maybe Philly, maybe like Atlanta, whatever, they do look at the growth of the organization, not the people. And I think that is really why we are here in the first place, because we're talking for the people. We are the people. So I feel like we have a say so. We have our own opinions, and we know how we are living day to day. Not everyone is here that, you know, we have 100K in our pocket. If you do, beautiful. If you don't, let's, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone is different. This isn't just about racial, it's about social status, it's about, you know, where you come from and where you're at today. So I think with this scenario, I would advocate for my community to take a step back and really realize, like, yes, this is going to benefit this area, but what about this area? We have to really figure out as a whole, what is this situation or what is this change really going to do? This is, I'm getting my master's right now in industrial organizational psychology, and we talk about organizations. Thank you. We talk about how we can be better for the employees from a business standpoint. And I feel like this really resonates with this scenario, because I'm trying to and willing to speak for the people, speak for who is working for this organization. Yes, we understand these changes are going to be helpful to maybe your customers, but what about your workers is a difference. Yes, it's going to be nice to maybe, you know, the whole city in a sense on a money aspect, but what about the people that are living in it? What about my grandma? What about my aunts, my uncles? You know, what about our cousins? What about, you know, the ones that we just know walking on the streets of Falls? We just know them because they're who they are, you know? So we have to think about them and put ourselves in their shoes and kind of determine what is going to be the best outcome for them, not just for me.
Oh, okay. I'll say the one thing that I would definitely advocate is the aspect of family, and how, like, the one thing I love about our culture is that, like, we are all, like, everyone knows everybody. Like, everybody somehow knows everybody. Somehow you're related. If you ain't related to them, then you related to them now. You feel me? Like, you are related to everybody, right? And, like, you know, the big dominant families here are what? The Cleckleys and Pews, if you know what I'm saying? Like, but where I'm trying to go at is that, like, is getting our people to actually go out and change the community themselves, right? We can only rely on the organization so much, but if we actually get our people to go out into the streets or go out into and advocate for our community to change, to keep the historic aspect of it, to keep the culture alive, then they're like, I know for sure, like changes, like you can't ignore that. You know what I'm saying? Like I know one big example was definitely in 2020 when we did the movement and like the George Floyd movement, and we had 7th Avenue packed going down the street. Like that was beautiful. And I just remember during that moment, I was like, man, like if Beaver Falls, Aliquippa, if any community like this, like black communities that was able to like come together at moments like this, and even now, like we're starting to see growth. Like my dad did the like the paintings down on the murals down here, and thanks to Seth, down near the what's it called, the bank, or not the bank, I'm sorry, the content house, and also to the down Second Avenue, right? So there are so many like community, like black based community things that are like going on that are like actually like changing the community and making it into a positive light. But if we were able to like get everybody all together on board with this, like in the scenario, get everyone on this and stuff like that, then like I said, like that is the type of change that we cannot ignore, that the people, you know, the higher ups, whoever, cannot ignore. So
Prior to something coming, I would want to know, like, whose pockets will benefit from this new project. And then I want to take a look at everybody in our community, all of the statistics, to figure out how this new thing will benefit every individual group. And also in the negative, like how could it negatively impact them in those ways also. But also, I think the most important thing is, piggybacking off of Jared, is building power in the community. Coming to, I'm not from Beaver Falls, but I want to tell you something about Beaver Falls. I went to school at Slippery Rock, and I could point out every person who was from Beaver Falls because you guys had, like, you stuck together for one. Y'all hair was just, ugh. And you had some type of faith that kept us all going when we experienced difficult things at Slippery Rock. They were always the head of the gospel choir, the just anything. So I can see the resilience in the community. So I know there's power. So when something new comes, you get together and you say, like, how is this going to benefit us? What parts of this do we actually want? What's worth keeping? And what is worth, like, saying, you know, this is not worth us having anymore because something new is potentially better and could support this group of individuals that are never thought of. So I don't know. I don't always think that new development is bad. I think it is bad when it doesn't include the community in every aspect.
Can I speak again? You go ahead. All right, yeah. Yeah. Huh?
I would say like we would have to probably get like a committee and like educate ourselves, you know, like financially, like and think ahead, because you know like at any time this can happen. Like in my head, I know Mount Washington. I know they're gonna do something with the Mount Washington. I already know that. But it's like if something like that happens, it's a us problem, you know, because we didn't take the right steps, you know, to get ahead to be a part of it. And I feel like as you know the newer generation, I feel like we are behind because you know our parents grew up, you know, they probably didn't own a house or anything like that, so we're already behind. Or you know the grandparents died and you know our moms, you know, they lost the house. You feel me? So it's like, what are we doing to keep these things amongst our families, you know, and amongst our people? So we got to think about that, and you know, not thinking about who's it all for. Like it could be for everybody if everybody get on the right page.
Okay, so my good friend Seth Woodard over here, if you all know him, one concept that he talks about a lot of the time is cultural autonomy. And historically, Black people have not been in charge of anything, financially, real estate, any of those things. And so it is hard for us to take control of the thing when we don't own it. There's a thing called post-traumatic slave syndrome, in which there's a spirit that has been attached to our people for a long time since slavery that tells us that we can't do it, that has broken the spirit of determination, of saying that we can go forward, that we can do these things. So yes, it does start with us coming together to do things, but it also includes our friends who are not of color, who are at the tables, who are at the heads of these foundations and organizations that are leading to say, hey, I want to help, and I want to help not by telling you what it is that you need to do, but offering my resources to you, because you don't always have to be in charge of things.
Anybody else? Thank you guys so much for that. That was really good. That touched a lot of like things that are dear and close to me. I heard a lot about family, a lot about keeping our history and our identity, a lot about education. Jaleel, I extremely appreciate you just talking about like how we need to take it and take charge of it and learn for ourselves and be a part of these things, you know. The the points that you brought, Andrina, Mary, you know, what Jaleel was saying, you know, even though we might not be the resource, because it's been, we've had it before, but it's been taken away from us, right? Or it's been stopped, so we couldn't sustain it anymore. But not being the resource sometimes kind of isolates our voices, and just taking that opportunity to educate and then be the voice after that. Having our young people do it, right? Because, you know, we're working off of what our parents gave us, and now they need to work off of what we're trying to do for them. So thank you, guys. It's about community, and it's about education, educating ourselves. Thank you. So we have one more scenario left, and I'll let Diamond take it over.
All right. So this scenario is the confrontational encounter at work. Now, if I say he, it can also be she, because we have women and men on here. So I'm going to start. So you've been working at your job for a few months now. It's a fairly diverse office, but you're one of the only few African Americans in a mostly non-African American workplace. You've always kept things professional, you've done your work well, and you stayed out of any office drama. But today, it's different. You're sitting at your desk when one of your non-African American coworkers, who you've always found to be a bit too comfortable with inappropriate comments, approaches you. They're a senior member of the team, someone you know who holds a bit of power. He comes up with a half mark, holding coffee in his hand, and he says, hey, you know, he says, clearly gearing up to make a joke. You're not like the rest of them, you know, like the black people on the news or in the movies. You actually talk like a normal person. His words are casual, but the weight behind them is heavy. It's the kind of comment that's designed to be complimentary, but it's offensive on so many levels. He chuckles, thinking this is all good and fun. Oh, come on. I mean, you're well-spoken, you know that. You know, the attitude most people expect from black folks. It's refreshing, honestly. This isn't a casual misunderstanding. It's a deliberate comment, one he's made because he believes he has the right to. He tries to backpedal, and he says, I didn't mean it like that. I just...
What's next?
I'll say that happened to me at work, and I just got suspended. No, but all right, no, but for real, I took this job. It was at a mill, and I remember I went in for the interview, and the guy who was doing the hiring process, the first thing he said to me was, "There's people in here that do not like black people, but that probably won't bother you because where you're from." And you know what I hate? the most from outsiders of Beaver Falls or anything. It's like they label us like a black community, which, you know, like downtown, but there's like so many more parts that make up this town. And it's like Beaver Falls is like one of the most diverse school districts. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you send your kid to school there, like, you're good. There's the white people, the black people. Look, we all gonna get along. We're gonna go party with the white folks, you know, everything. But, you know, so problems started happening while I was working there. And, you know, I would like tell him, but, you know, he wouldn't believe me or whatever. Or he knew they was true, but, you know, try to keep it, you know, under the radar. So I used to get written up for insubordination and like taking out of character so much, and eventually I had to go file with the EEOC because I mean I had a huge log. I kept everything, photos, everything, but and that's why like Donald Trump getting rid of the DEI and all that, whatever. I don't know, but it's just crazy because I was hired. My clock number was 1937. The next time they hired an African American, the clock number was 1980. So that was like almost 43 people that they hired, and nobody else that came through those doors was African American. But um, that job, I ended up walking away. That was probably like 6 years ago. That was probably making like $23 an hour. That was, you know, before everybody was making 20s. You know, working in like the mills and that. And I ended up going from a 23-hour job to $16 an hour. But look, my mental health was good after I left there. So, you know.
I experienced something similar to this, and still thinking about my reaction. I worked downtown, and I was the only African American, but we all worked in our cubicles, and we really didn't like socialize. I literally went to work, did my job, and came home. But every once in a while, my director would come out of his office and say something. And this particular day was hard for me because it was the day of Antoine Rose's the officer's non-guilty verdict. And so I was a little bit emotional about that. And just from overhearing some of the stuff just because he was a loud person, I knew that he was familiar with the case and things like that. But when he came over to my cubicle and leaned over and he said, "Hi, Sean. Um, did you hear that new rap that came out last night?" It was somebody I never heard of, but I was like, "What? Is that what you have to say to me?" Like, and that was my reaction because, like, not a hi, not a good morning, but you were just talking to another coworker about, you know, the heaviness of the injustice. Like, not even talking about the heaviness, but like mentioned it, and because there were protesters in the street and stuff. But the first thing you say to me is that how, you know, yeah, I like rap. I love rap. But let me tell you something. I'm beyond just rap. Like, I know a lot more than rap, you know? So it was just like, I don't want to talk to you about anything. Like, let me just do my job and go home because it was not my job to educate this man. The energy that I would have put in to try would have exhausted me even more. Um, so he didn't get anything from me, not even a prayer. So.
Okay, so I had a situation happen similar to this recently at church. I go to a semi-diverse, non-denominational church, and was outside greeting people as they were coming in. And one of the elders of the church was also outside, but he was just kind of down the walkway a little bit. So an older gentleman, he's 84 years old. He looks like he's like 50. You would never know he's that old. But by the things he says, not just racial things, he says, you're like, oh yeah, you're a very old man. So he comes up and he always, you know, has kind of like something quirky to say, you know, kiss me on my cheek. And he said to me, boy, you're a really pretty black girl. And I'm like, wow, I'm 43 years old. I'm not a girl, but thank you. But I haven't heard somebody say something like that to me in a while. And so I just kind of smiled, and he said, well, how did he have it? Basically saying something, just again referring to how I look. So the elder, he was, like I said, he was a little bit further down. And when that gentleman walked into the church, he came over to me and he was fuming, like his face was beet red, older white gentleman. And he said, I can't believe he said that. So after church, he spoke to him and like really got on him and said like, yo, we don't say that. And the beautiful thing about that is that the older elder, he is from Louisiana, grew up in civil rights era, and he literally experienced, white only faucets and things of that nature. And he said, even as a little boy, he hated seeing black people be discriminated against. So it was that time for me to have someone white older than me who grew up, and we could very easily say, you know what, that's just how he grew up. Because we also, if we want to be real, sometimes we make excuses and say like, oh yeah, they don't know any better. That's how they were raised. But no, because right is right and wrong is wrong. And it's 2025.
Okay, so I broke down this scenario in a couple different factors. So one, we're talking about work. We're talking about the thing that pays your bills, your car outside, your mortgage, right? But I broke it down into grouping. For some reason, I don't know why, I think when we think about work and we think about superiors or someone that's in authority, for some reason, not all, some, they take that title as their bullets or their weapon for some reason. For some reason, they look at it as like, I know that either you need this job, and I know that maybe I'm in a position of authority where I can say certain things to you and you probably won't say nothing back to me because we know where you're at right now. I think when we're thinking about this scenario, like, unfortunately, we have to write down lists and take pictures and report when we have to, you know what I mean? Or we have to also determine, like Carolyn, I'm talking to me, how are you going to react in the situation right now? Because yes, this job pays your bills, but you're also just, I don't care what your title is, you are a person, you are either someone older than me, and I was raised to respect my elders, but I also was raised to respect those who treat me with respect at the end of the day. So this one is really like sensitive to me because like I work in, not currently, but before, I was the only young black manager where I was at. And it took a lot because I was in these office and these conferences, and they were kind of not excluding me, no, but my words really didn't hold that much weight, maybe because of my age, maybe because of what I look like. And I think we have to only, not only respect who we are, but also own what we are and and how we say things and how we move certain ways. But I also do think that since they do group us, not everybody, some, they group us in this box of like, we're all the same or we can be ghetto. And I heard a saying that was like, I could say it professionally or I could say it ghetto, but both times you heard what I said. You know what I mean? So I think it really just depends on how you decide to react in these certain situations, but also not prove them right in a sense. We all, us colored, come from different walks of life. I personally was raised in a two-parent household. They could say spoiled, but I say blessed. I didn't really have to go through too much until I got into the world. But not everyone can say that, and I understand that. But I also think that regardless of how I was raised and how I came up, I'm still an African American woman in this world, especially in a corporate setting. It's hard working for and with the white man, if I'm saying it in that nature. So I think this scenario definitely is going to open a lot because we're talking about, offices and Trump and DIE, all the things. Okay. Um, Take a step back, realize where you're at. Also realize that yes, you are going to make sure that you are respectful, but you're not going to tolerate anything. You're not going to tolerate just someone saying something to you just because they know that they can because of their title, because they're a manager or supervisor. There's different ways that you can attack the situation. There's different ways that you can educate them. But there's also ways that you can share and showcase, like, hey, this is who I am. What you said to me was disrespectful. What you said to me did not, and what do you say? Because I didn't mean that. You mean exactly what you said, or you wouldn't have said in the first place. My mama said, think before you speak, do, and react. And I hold that every single day, because some of these scenarios, I had to think before I spoke, before I do anything, and before I react. And I just feel like we all need to take that away, for sure.
I would say, kind of piggybacking off her, part of the reason why we all side is because this is a lose-lose situation, right? If I allow my emotions to get the best of me, and I, rage, oh man, what you trying to talk about, blah, 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 right? Oh, I'm known as the angry black man. I'm known as the thug, right? Women do it, black women do it, all they known as the angry black woman trope, right? If you just stay silent and not say anything at all, you're gonna get walked on over. Nobody's, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's gonna defend for yourself. I had a similar situation kind of like that, because I remember working at Staples a few years back during college, and I remember like it was me and then like 4 other black people that worked there. It was me, 3 other dudes, and 1 girl. And when I tell you, we was cutting up, like, it was so fun. And part of the reason why is because before then, I was the only black person there, so it was just like whatever. But as soon as they came into play, we was cutting up. But I remember, like, we was, we was all together just being black. And one of my supervisors came over. Just being black, minding our business, just being black. And I remember when my supervisor came over, he was like, yo, man, like, listen, like, he wasn't even the supervisor, now I think about it. He was just a dude that worked there for a long time thinking that he was something that he wasn't. Because he came to me, he was like, yeah, man, like, you should know better than this. You know what I'm saying? I was like, ooh. And that's, saying that scenario really brought me back to it, because I was like, it's a lose-lose situation. But I just remember at that moment, like, the best thing that I could have done was to educate. Because like you said, it's a lose-lose situation. Like, no matter what I do, like you said, it's to help me pay my bills. It's help me to do whatever I have to do to, for me to continue to live, right? So no matter what it is, I just had to learn, like, okay, like, looking at all the scenarios, like, if I do this, this is going to happen. If I do that, that's going to happen. Like, it's a lose-lose, right? So I just had to allow the Holy Spirit just to hit me and was like, just say how you feel, but I know one thing for sure is that I'm only going to say it once, right? This is the only time I'm going to talk to you man to man that I'm going to say how I feel, right? I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm going to be polite. I was raised to be polite, well-mannered, you know what I'm saying? But you only get it one time. Because after that time, you do that again, oh my goodness. I might even record it, put it in my pocket or something like that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you only get one time where I will be respectful, be nice. The next time, either you're going to get cussed out or I'm just going to leave. But all that to say is that it is tough, because it's a lose-lose situation, and every African-American that is put in that situation has to think differently. Like, because what is there to do? So.
Thank you. Diamond, what would you do?
Well, I think that it's important to have cultural competency. That meaning that, you don't have to read a book in school to be educated on other people's backgrounds. Just like you're on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, you can read up on some things and get educated. You can educate yourself any kind of way. For me, in more of a social work setting, I like to set boundaries with the people that I work with. I like to set professional ethics. I like to hold everybody accountable. So first and foremost, I like to educate. I'll probably be mad about it in the car, call my mom, like, I can't believe this happened, like, oh my God. But right then and there, I take my feelings out of it. And I'm like, okay, I'm dealing with somebody who is not culturally competent. They don't know any better, or they do, and they're trying to test me. But let me rap with them real quick and tell them, like, hey, this is what I allow for you to do to me. This is my boundary, and if you cross that boundary, then yes, I would, express other things. You know, we're going to have a problem. And I think it's important that when you're in the work field to definitely discuss boundaries with your staff members, you know, especially the ones that, you know, maybe are curious and want to ask you certain questions and don't know how. Let them know that it's okay, because it's important that they know that, hey, you can ask me this question, you know, as long as it's, as long as it's kept, you know, as long as it's kept
Not
respectful.
everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm not using that.
She's not as tired. This is really, really good because it touches on a lot of things. Like Jaleel was saying, it was his job. I think everybody was saying that. It's your job. It's your well-being. It's how you are providing for your family and so there's things that you have to think of outside of your personal experience and them and their ignorance. You know, you have to think about so much more. And I think that's something to highlight about our experience as people of color in America. We always have to think about more than just us. We always have to think about more than the situation. It's always bigger than us. And I think we were over talking about starting this, and we were talking about how we always have to represent everybody. When you're in scenarios, when you're in places where you're the only black person there, it's like you are deemed the representative, right? You can't just be you. You have to be you and everyone else and represent everyone else. And some people have that consciousness. Some people are tired of that consciousness, right? And then others really don't have that awareness and don't realize that they are the only representation that this person might see. And so, like, it's always bigger than these scenarios for us. And it's always vital that we think about our response. Has there ever been a time for you all where you wanted to handle something differently, but you didn't feel empowered to be able to do that?
I would say there was so many examples, like I said, like at Geneva, where just like certain situations where like we wanted to go out and talk about it or go out and advocate about it, but there was not much that we can do because we weren't in that position of power to really make a change. We were students, but we were also black students. So we really didn't have like the authority nor like the power just to like snap our fingers and do it. Like, we can name a bunch of examples for real. I think one I think that can like stick to our mind was like our friend Liz. And I remember, right, it was bringing in, like Geneva was bringing in a lot of, before we go on, like, you know, I graduated from Geneva. I'm not trying to talk crap on them or whatever. I love Geneva or whatever. But these are one of the many flaws that I'm bringing up. Okay, just making sure I don't want to be like a Geneva hater or whatever. And it's on live stream. And they
Try
look
not
at
to
it.
say no names.
Yeah. Okay, this is our friend, right? But she, was moving, like faculty moved like her office up. Like basically gave her like the smallest room possible, right? And I remember like we was telling, cause like she didn't do nothing wrong at all, or whatever. Like they was getting new positions, moving new people. She's been there for quite some time now, right? But they moved her up, and I remember it was like we was all like me, Diamond, and then our friend Hannah. Sorry, no name drop, but but it's our friend. Yeah. But I remember we all three was like going to her, talking to her about this, like, yo, like this isn't like right. You need to talk to them. You need to like, you know, whatever. But the problem is that like, even if we did talk to them, what are they, like, we cannot do anything about it at all. You know what I'm saying? And that is just one of the many examples of just like how we just felt like powerless in a situation where it was like, you know, I'm not the head of Geneva. I was the head of Geneva. Obviously, I would change something in a heartbeat, but it's just not that simple.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I want to caveat that by saying, like, those are the reasons why things like HBCUs are established. because and HBCU is historically Black university in college. And the reason why is because we don't have our own. We don't have our own identity. And it's hard to really truly find your voice and learn who you are when you don't have that resource and you're not a part of that. So when we're saying like Black Student Union, or we have an HBCU or any other Black organization. We're not saying it to take out any other ethnicity or race. We're saying as a sense of pride, as a sense of ownership, because we have to fight for everything that we own and everything that we have. And so it's not like Black lives matter, so no lives matter other than Blacks. It's no, we have to have an emphasis on that. We have to scream that because that's not always respected. Absolutely.
When you say HBCU, just a quick story. I remember in the 11th grade, again, I went to South Fayette. And so there was something that the city was having called the Historically Black College Tour. I don't know if any of you ever got to go on a Black College Tour. Changed my life. Yes. So it was an opportunity for students that did not go to city schools or to Black schools to go on a tour of Black colleges from the north to the south. It was a 2-week tour, and it was the first time a lot of us got to be away from home with a lot of Black students, and it was just super, super cool, and I felt so good about doing this. So I remember coming back, and we were in choir. And again, I'm like the only Black girl in everything, right? So I come back, and of course I have a renewed sense of who I am. You know, I've been seeing fraternities and sororities step. I'm seeing like all these amazing things on these Black colleges, just seeing like the culture and like what it really looks like to be supported by Black professors and counselors, and to see all of these amazing things led by Black people. So we're in choir, and my choir director was like, welcome Andrea back. She came back from the Black College Tour, and there was one dude, and he already had been getting on my nerves. But he said, well, why did you have to go on a Black College Tour? Right, exactly what? But he didn't understand, A, because he wasn't Black, B, because he got all the support that he needed from the school. All the teachers looked like him, all of the opportunities, everything was catered to him. And it's just another example of how these things had to be created for us so that we did get an opportunity to really insulate ourselves and give ourselves the support. Because again, culture means something. It does mean something. As much as we want to act like, oh, it's kumbaya, no. I promise you, if you were the only white in an all Black situation for your whole life, you would be excited to see another white person. I promise you, you would. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Again, like I said, God created us the way He created us to celebrate and honor and love one another. But we know that the greatest command is to love God. But the one after that is to love your neighbor as yourself. Amen.
Representation matters. Representation matters. Did anybody have anything else to say on that? I have one more thing for you guys. So we got a couple more minutes, and I wanted to actually bring a scenario that is very specific to our county. So something that kind of gets to me sometimes is when we hype up the whole Beaver Falls rival thing. Okay. Did you turn my mic off for a reason? Okay. We're not doing that one. No, yes, we are. So when we put such a big emphasis on the games that they play, or when you hear somebody say, "Oh, I'm not going to Beaver Falls," I literally had my grandma's neighbor tell me, "You live in Beaver Falls, and you're not scared?" Oh, I'm never going to go over there. And she lives a hop, skip, and a jump away, okay? She's in the same, across the bridge, okay? So how do you guys feel about about the stereotype that Jaleel, you touched on this, that we're considered a black town, but really we're a diverse town. We're not just a black town, and there's so many aspects to both of our cities that kind of gets overshadowed by the fact that it's predominantly black. So just wondering what your thoughts are about this.
Oh, that's you. My bad. I got you.
Man, that question hit like crazy. Listen, I'll never forget this. So my freshman year at Geneva, right? I just never forget like the amount of people that I found out was scared of Beaver Falls. Oh my goodness. You would think that it was like Grand Theft Auto out here, the way that they was talking about it. And it hurt because part of it's like, this is my hometown, born and raised. You feel me? Like this is it right here. You know what I'm saying? And the amount of like people that just like would just talk about Beaver Falls up there, that's so bad. Talk about Aliquippa, but don't go there because this late at time and stuff like that. And what's even crazier is that like it's not even like it stems back even from like even when I was in high school. Like sorry. I'll never forget a time when like it was late at night just like this, right? And like me and all my friends who were all black, we was playing basketball down on Second Ave. Now this is before they put up the lights too, so we just had our car engines going and we had the lights blaring on, right? And one of our friends who like lives up in Koppel, I'll never forget, we playing basketball. You just see him visibly shaking while playing basketball. We like, is you good, bro? Like, what's going on? He was like, yo, I heard like they'd be selling drugs down here. They'd be like, killing down here. Second Avenue. Like, I heard all this stuff. I was joking around. I was like, yeah, we tough down here, you feel me? But for real, but on a real note though, I was like, no, like you're good. Like, I promise you, nothing is gonna happen to you. Like, it is not dangerous down here at all. So it even stems from before I went to a PWI, right? And just a
Jared, what's a PWI?
a predominantly white institution.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. And it was just like crazy to me how people really think that like Beaver Falls and Aliquippa are like these dangerous like ghetto black, not saying that we don't have problems, because we definitely have problems for sure, but there is like a community aspect that people do not see. So many family ties. Like I said earlier, like the Cluckleys, they roll this joint in here. I go to Quip, I'm related to all the Pews. If your last name is a Pew, we cousins. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's just like there's that aspect that people do not see at all. All they see is the negativity because they want to see the negativity. They don't want to actually plant themselves in the community that they're talking crap about the whole time. So that's all I gotta say.
Thank you. This question or this scenario question, for me, literally like 50% of me is Aliquippa, 50% of me is Beaver Falls. My mama's from Falls, my dad's from Quit. So with that being said, I find it so like disheartening where it's like, oh, don't go Aliquippa because you're going to get shot. Can I say that? Or don't go to, Beaver Falls or you're going to get, shot too, something, whatever. But like, it's just a stereotype. I feel like stereotypes can make and break any situation, but it depends on how or what you think of that situation. You don't have to look at the negativity, like you said. You can look at the positive attributes of both cities. Like, we are all here, mixed colors, looking like a rainbow in Beaver Falls. You know what I mean? And then if you go to Aliquippa, you'll see that mural by Guy and all of those kids. Like, I think that's so beautiful. Like, Aliquippa is love. One thing that they're going to do, they love each other down. Same with Beaver Falls. We could do a little bit better, but we love each other down. And I feel like we have to look at the positive attributes of both cities. Like, so yes, there is danger. There's danger everywhere. We can leave, God forbid, and I pray everyone gets home safely and in their house and everything, but anything can happen and pop off at any time, don't matter where you're at. And I think you make or break any situation. Your thoughts and your decisions, you decide how you want to think about something. So if you want to look at the negativity,
all right, that's what you want to do. That's your type of personality, or that's this the type of way that you want to think. But you are able, and we all have power to alter your perspective. You can change how you look at something. It really just takes a very open mind to see another point of view, you know? And yeah, I love falls, but I love quit.
Can love both. Period. Me too.
I would say, I do sports photography, so I like to, go around shooting different games. But there's just one photographer I know, and I'm like, you want to go get a pass for the Alabama game? No, man, I ain't going up there. My wife don't want me up there. But man, it's like, man, they shooting up churches, schools. You can lose your life anywhere. But man, if you on that side scared, because when the sports turn around and the games get competitive again, you're gonna need that ticket.
So I guess I'm kind of like a hybrid also. My mom and my dad are from Aliquippa. I left in the first grade and went to South Fayette, but my mother's family is from Beaver Falls. So I'm like a quarter Beaver Falls and like you know what I mean? Like we mix. I deal with this when it comes to Uncommon Grounds. So for those who don't know, Uncommon Grounds Cafe is on Franklin Avenue, 380 Franklin Avenue, 1 block up from the police station, okay? 1 block. And you will not even imagine the number of times I have churches calling me saying, hey, we want to bring a mission team in and do mission with you guys, but we're a little scared. And it's like, hey, first of all, it is very offensive because it's like, yo, I go to sleep here every single night. Like, I live here. It's okay. My grandmother lives here. Like, my kids live here. The dog live here. Everybody lives here, and we're fine. But I think, like I said in the beginning about what keeps me up at night is the fact that the church is still so divided and not willing to understand that we are one, and the things that keep us separated are so small and minute in comparison to the things that actually bring us together. Same for Aliquippa and Beaver Falls, but Beaver Falls is a third world country.
Oh,
I know. Don't you do that. Right.
I didn't say it. I will say, because my position is unique. I am not from Beaver County, but I found my love, passion, and everything in Beaver County. I've done everything to try to avoid Beaver County. So seeing Beaver Falls and Aliquippa, like I see it as like cousins, yeah, like love and I assume because I am black, I don't see that other stuff that everyone's scared because I just walk into places like I'm supposed to be there. Like, so I love Beaver Falls and Aliquippa. Like the culture in both communities is very strong and passionate, and the rival, like I'm not picking a side because whoever wins, that's who I'm with.
That's right. We all have that one color in common, and it's black.
Thank you guys for that. And let me just say that there are also very diverse communities elsewhere in the county too. I mean, we have diversity all along, usually the riverfront towns. But, that's for another time because we're out of time now. Thank you guys so much for coming, for sharing, for being vulnerable. This is absolutely not easy. Everyone, can you guys give them a round of applause? Thank you. This was brave, this was bold, and this is very much important. And so thank you guys for your time and for your willingness to be the face of this. We appreciate Neighborhood North. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I don't even want to cry, but it means everything to be able to have this space. And so thank you for this. And thank you all for coming and being allies with us and being friends of us and being supportive of us. Because none of this is easy, but when we all do it together, it can be done. And it is being done. And there is great work happening in all towns in Beaver County. And there are great things to get involved in. And I just want to say, if you're not involved with something, please get involved with something. There's so many things to get involved in so many different ways. And now is time for us to take care of ourselves, for us to build, for us to love, and for us to honor. And so thank you all for this moment and for being with us. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, I got all caught up in my emotions. So another reason why this was so important is because everyday choices make up the decisions of our future and create our history. And so today we gave you 3 scenarios, but there's so many scenarios out there where you can choose to do good things in small moments, because one small moment could mean something totally different to somebody else. What you think is hey, you're okay, or hey, that might not have been the right thing to say, could be small to you, but could be huge, as you can see, to your friends and your family and your loved ones. So please, everyone, please continue to choose with intent, to choose with love, and to choose with responsibility, because we all have that power. No one can take our choice away, and so we can all do this together. Was that good? Good. Thank you all. Don't forget, there's food in the back. Please take some. Please take it all. Please enjoy. Please, if you have any questions, anything that hits you, please come to any one of us. We want to have these conversations. So thank you.
The only one I love, the only man I know that I can trust, and if I ever should need you, I know you'll come ready to kill.